The beast lay sprawled across the barren, rocky landscape, its once mighty frame now a pitiful sight. Its scales, once gleaming with the luster of a predator at the apex of its world, were dulled by wounds that wept a dark, viscous fluid. The air around it was thick with the acrid scent of blood and desperation. The beast's breaths came in ragged gasps, each exhale a struggle that echoed across the desolate expanse. Abandoned, it was the last of its kind, a terrifying creature that had once roamed the galaxy's edges, feared and shunned by all. On the distant capital planet of the Galactic Council, the debate raged. Representatives from dozens of species, each more varied and bizarre than the last, filled the chamber with a hum of overlapping voices. A hologram of the beast, projected in the center of the vast amphitheater, rotated slowly, its wounds and suffering visible to all. Yet there was no compassion in the eyes of the council members, only cold calculation. This creature is a relic of a bygone era, intoned the representative of the Zelner, a species known for their logic and emotionless pragmatism. His scaled hand gestured dismissively toward the image. It serves no purpose in our orderly galaxy. Let nature take its course. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. The beast was a remnant of a time when survival was dictated by tooth and claw, a time the more civilized species of the galaxy had long since moved beyond. To them, the beast was an anachronism, a savage relic better left to die in the wastelands of an uninhabited world. But not all were so dismissive. In the far corner of the chamber, the human ambassador, Catherine Holt, watched the proceedings with a growing sense of unease. Humanity was new to the Galactic Council, still finding its place among the stars. Yet there was something in this cold disregard for life that struck a chord deep within her. She leaned forward, her voice cutting through the din like a knife. "This creature," she began, "is not just a mindless beast. It is a living being, capable of pain, fear, and perhaps even understanding. We cannot simply let it die because it's inconvenient for us to help." Her words were met with scoffs and derisive laughter. The council had long seen humans as soft-hearted and irrational, a species driven more by emotion than logic. But Catherine persisted, her gaze never wavering from the hologram of the suffering beast. "On Earth," she continued, "we have a history of protecting those who cannot protect themselves. We've tamed wolves. We've rescued endangered species. And we've even cared for the fiercest predators when they were wounded. This creature deserves a chance to live." A silence fell over the chamber as the other representatives regarded her with a mix of incredulity and contempt. Finally, the head of the council, an ancient being known as High Elder Thran, spoke. His voice was measured, his many eyes unblinking as he regarded Catherine. "Ambassador Holt," he said slowly, "your compassion is commendable but misguided. This beast is not like the animals of your Earth. It is a creature of destruction, bred for war. It has no place in our galaxy." Catherine stood her ground, her heart pounding. "Perhaps," she replied, "but we won't know unless we try. If we leave it to die, we are no better than the enemies who wounded it. We have the means to help. Why not use them?" High Elder Thran's eyes narrowed, his expression unreadable. For a long moment he said nothing, weighing her words. Then, with a slight nod, he gestured to the assembly. "Very well," he conceded. "If your species wishes to take responsibility for this creature, the council will not interfere. But understand this. If you fail, the consequences are yours alone." Catherine inclined her head in thanks, though her mind was already racing with the implications. The human team had their work cut out for them, and the council's lack of interference was a double-edged sword. They would have no help and no backup if things went wrong. But Catherine believed in the resilience and compassion of her people. They had faced worse odds before. Back on Earth, preparations were already underway. A small team was being assembled, experts in xenobiology, medicine, and animal behavior. They were the best humanity had to offer, and they knew the risks. The alien beast was an unknown quantity, dangerous and unpredictable, but they would approach it as they had every other challenge. with determination, ingenuity, and a deep-seated belief that life, no matter how strange or frightening, was worth saving. As the ship left Earth's orbit, its destination set for the remote planet where the beast lay dying, Catherine allowed herself a moment of hope. The galaxy had yet to understand humanity's true nature, their capacity for both fierce protection and relentless compassion. The beast was alone, abandoned by all, but it wouldn't be for long. Humanity was coming, and they would not leave it to die. The barren planet loomed large on the ship's view screen, its surface a patchwork of jagged rocks and arid plains. The human team, now a small crew of 5, stood ready in the command bay, their expressions a mixture of determination and apprehension. The journey had been swift, but the gravity of their mission weighed heavily on them all. At the forefront was Dr. Elise Grant, a xenobiologist with a calm demeanor and sharp intellect. Her expertise in alien physiology made her the natural leader of the group. "This is it," she said, her voice steady as she addressed the team. "We've trained for this. Our first priority is to assess the creature's condition and establish that we're not a threat. Everything hinges on those first few moments." Beside her stood Lieutenant James Carter, a seasoned military officer whose job was to ensure the team's safety. His presence was a reminder of the mission's potential dangers. While they were here to save the beast, the possibility of it reacting violently was very real. Carter's hand hovered near his sidearm, a non-lethal stunner, ready to protect his team if needed. The others, Dr. Hannah Mori, a skilled medic, Lucas Reyes, an engineer with a knack for improvisation, and Sarah Boyd, an expert in animal behavior, listened intently. Each had a specific role to play, and each understood the risks. But none of them had come this far to turn back now. The ship touched down gently on the rocky terrain, its engines humming to a stop. The atmosphere outside was thin but breathable, and the planet's 2 suns cast an eerie, orange glow over the landscape. The creature was not far from their landing site, according to the coordinates provided by the Council. But even without the coordinates, the signs of its presence were clear. Deep gouges in the earth, scattered bones of long-dead prey, and the unmistakable stench of blood carried on the wind. Elise led the team out of the ship, her heart pounding as they approached the beast's location. They moved cautiously, aware that one wrong step could provoke an aggressive response. The terrain was uneven, forcing them to navigate around boulders and craggy outcroppings until, finally, they saw it. The alien beast lay curled in the shadow of a massive rock formation, its massive body rising and falling with labored breaths. Up close, it was even more imposing. An enormous, reptilian creature with scales like armor and eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. Its wounds were severe. Deep gashes along its flank, a shattered limb, and signs of infection spreading across its once proud form. Despite its injuries, the beast's gaze was alert, its eyes locked onto the approaching humans. "Stay calm," Sarah murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. She was at the forefront now, moving slowly, deliberately, as she attempted to project an aura of calmness. "It's watching us, but it's not attacking. That's a good sign." Elise nodded, her focus on the beast's reactions. "Let's show it we're here to help. Lucas, bring out the medical equipment." Lucas quickly unpacked the advanced medical kit they had brought along. It contained everything they needed to treat the creature's wounds: antiseptics, tissue regenerators, even an analgesic designed to work on various alien physiologies. But the challenge was getting close enough to use them. The team spread out slightly, moving in a semicircle around the beast. Dr. Mori held up a scanner, reading the creature's vital signs from a safe distance. "Heart rate is elevated, but it's stable," she reported. "It's in pain, but it's not panicking." "Let's start with the antiseptic spray," Elise decided. "We need to stop the infection from spreading before we can do anything else." Carter remained on guard as Elise and Lucas approached the beast. Sarah kept whispering soothing words, hoping the creature would sense their intentions. As Elise reached out with the spray, the beast flinched, a low growl rumbling from its chest. She froze, her heart racing, but she didn't retreat. "It's okay," she said softly, her voice steady despite the tension. "We're here to help." For a moment, the beast seemed to consider its options. Then, as if recognizing the sincerity in her voice, it settled back down, its eyes still wary but no longer filled with immediate threat. Elise released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding and began to treat the wounds. The antiseptic hissed as it made contact with the torn flesh, and the beast twitched but did not retaliate. Minutes passed like hours as the team worked together, each contributing to the treatment. Lucas applied the tissue regenerator, watching in awe as the beast's wounds began to close, albeit slowly. Hannah administered a dose of the analgesic, and the beast's breathing became less labored, its pain easing. As the treatment continued, something remarkable began to happen. The beast's eyes, once filled with suspicion and fear, softened. It watched the humans with something approaching curiosity, as if realizing for the first time that these strange creatures were not here to harm it. When they had done all they could for the day, Elise stepped back, her body aching with tension but her heart filled with hope. "That's enough for now," she said. "We'll monitor it overnight and continue tomorrow." As they retreated to the ship, the beast's gaze followed them, its massive head resting on the ground. For the first time since their arrival, it closed its eyes, drifting into a restless sleep. The humans had earned its trust, if only a little, and that was more than they had dared to hope for. But as they settled in for the night, the team knew their mission was far from over. The beast was still vulnerable, and the galaxy was a dangerous place. They had taken the first step, but the road ahead was long, and the challenges they would face were only just beginning. The suns had barely risen over the horizon when the ground beneath the humans' feet began to tremble. The team had spent the night in the ship, taking turns keeping watch over the recovering beast. The morning was supposed to bring another round of treatment, but the ominous vibrations signaled something far more dangerous. Elise was the first to react, her instincts honed from years of fieldwork. "Everyone outside now," she ordered, her voice cutting through the stillness. The team scrambled out of the ship, their eyes scanning the horizon for the source of the disturbance. The alien beast, still weak but alert, had risen to its feet, its muscles tensed and ready to fight. Lieutenant Carter, ever vigilant, quickly assessed the situation. "We've got incoming," he said, pointing to a cloud of dust rising in the distance. Through the haze, the outlines of several vehicles became visible, sleek, black machines that moved with deadly purpose. "Mercenaries," he growled. "They're after the beast." It didn't take long for the others to realize the gravity of the situation. The Galactic Council had made it clear that the humans were on their own, and it seemed someone had decided to take matters into their own hands. These mercenaries were likely hired by one of the many species that saw the beast as a threat, and they wouldn't care about the humans in their way. "We have to protect it," Elise said, her voice resolute. "If they get to it, everything we've done will be for nothing." Carter nodded, already moving to set up defensive positions. "Sarah, get the beast back behind cover. Lucas, Hannah, with me. We need to slow them down." The team sprang into action. Sarah approached the beast cautiously, her voice calm as she guided it away from the open terrain. "Come on, big guy," she murmured, urging it toward a nearby rock formation that offered some semblance of protection. The beast, though exhausted, followed her lead, its eyes flickering with a mix of trust and fear. Meanwhile, Carter and Lucas began setting up makeshift barriers using the ship's supplies, anything that could serve as cover against the incoming fire. Hannah, though a medic, wasn't unprepared for combat. She took up a position beside Carter, her pulse quickening as she checked her stunner. They knew they were outmatched, but they had no choice but to stand their ground. The mercenaries arrived with ruthless efficiency, their vehicles coming to a halt just out of range. A voice crackled over their comms, harsh and cold. "This is your only warning, humans. Step aside and let us take the beast, or you'll be collateral damage." Carter's response was a single shot from his stunner, aimed deliberately at the ground near the lead vehicle. "You'll have to go through us first," he replied, his voice steady despite the odds. The reply was immediate, A barrage of gunfire erupted from the mercenaries' vehicles, forcing the humans to duck behind their makeshift barriers. The air was filled with the sharp whine of energy bolts, and the ground around them erupted in bursts of dirt and rock. The beast roared, a sound that shook the earth, but it remained where Sarah had guided it, sensing that these humans were its only allies. Carter returned fire with calculated precision, each shot aimed to disrupt the mercenaries' advance rather than kill. Lucas, though not a soldier, used his engineering skills to rig a series of small explosives, designed for mining operations, that he had repurposed as improvised grenades. He lobbed them toward the mercenaries, the explosion sending shockwaves through their ranks and slowing their advance. "Stay focused," Carter shouted, keeping the team coordinated. "We just need to hold them off long enough for reinforcements to arrive." But even as he said it, they all knew the truth. Reinforcements weren't coming. The council had made their decision, and the humans were on their own. The realization only steeled their resolve. They weren't fighting for recognition or reward. They were fighting because it was the right thing to do. Elise, huddled behind cover, felt a mix of fear and determination. She had never imagined herself in a situation like this, but as she watched her team fight to protect the beast, she knew she couldn't let them down. She glanced over at the creature, its massive form crouched low, its eyes fixed on the battle with a kind of resigned acceptance. It knew, just as they did, that this was a fight for survival. As the battle raged on, the human situation grew increasingly dire. The mercenaries, realizing that their initial tactics weren't working, began to advance more aggressively, their weapons tearing through the humans' defenses. Carter was hit in the arm, gritting his teeth against the pain as he continued to fight. Lucas and Hannah, too, were running out of options, their ammunition dwindling. Then, just as it seemed all hope was lost, something extraordinary happened. The beast, sensing the desperation of its human allies, rose to its full height. It let out a roar so powerful that the very air seemed to vibrate. The mercenaries hesitated, momentarily stunned by the creature's display of strength. The beast charged, its massive body a blur of scales and claws as it barreled toward the mercenaries with a renewed ferocity. The mercenaries, unprepared for such a direct assault, were thrown into disarray. Vehicles were overturned, and their weapons were no match for the beast's sheer power. The humans watched in awe as the creature they had saved now fought to protect them. It was a primal, devastating force of nature, and the mercenaries stood no chance. Within minutes, the battle was over. The surviving mercenaries fled, leaving their fallen comrades and wrecked vehicles behind. The beast, panting and bleeding from fresh wounds, returned to the humans, its eyes locking with Elise's. There was a moment of understanding, a silent acknowledgement that they had saved each other. The team regrouped, tending to their injuries as best they could. Carter, cradling his wounded arm, looked at the beast with newfound respect. "We did it," he said, his voice tinged with disbelief. Elise nodded, exhaustion washing over her. "We did. But this isn't over. We need to get off this planet and find a place where it can truly be safe." Sarah, still by the beast's side, smiled faintly. "We'll find it, together." As they prepared to leave, the suns fully rose, casting a warm light over the battered landscape. The beast, no longer abandoned, walked beside them, its massive form casting a long shadow. They had defied the odds, and in doing so, had forged a bond that transcended species and fear. As the ship ascended into the sky, leaving the hostile world behind, the team knew they had done more than just save a life. They had proven that even in the darkest of places, humanity's compassion could make a difference. And in saving the beast, they had saved a part of themselves as well.